A Fox News alert, dramatic video as a Fox News crew is on the ground when Russia separatists fire artillery rounds in Ukraine. Our own Trey Yingst witnessed that chaos firsthand. He's now in the capital of Kiev, where he joins us live. Hi, Trey, and good evening to you. Let me ask you, we've seen the slow buildup of troops. The estimates are more than 150,000. We saw a cyber attack on Ukraine, and now this firing, the artillery fire, as you reported today. What's it going to take to call this an actual war? What's it going to take to call it a real invasion?
Well, look, right now, conflict is erupting in the eastern part of the country. There were over 1,500 ceasefire violations reported today, and we did spend the day with Ukrainian troops who are continuously taking fire from Russian-backed separatists. Those troops tell us the separatists are not only using things like mortars and artillery units, but also anti-tank missiles. They did show us evidence to support those statements. I did speak with the Ukrainian Interior Minister today, who said the country is prepared for a variety of scenarios that could unfold in the coming days. Here's what it looked like as the position that we were at earlier was shelled following our conversation with that minister.
The fire that we have coming in right now is being fired from just a few kilometers away. Russian-backed separatists clearly identified there were a lot of people at that position and started to hammer it pretty heavily with artillery. You heard a few seconds ago those explosions in the distance. Those were incoming rounds. That's what the Ukrainian military has been dealing with the past 48 hours. They say they are following the Minsk protocols, and that it's the Russian-backed forces, you hear in the distance there more explosions, that are violating this agreement.
2 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed so far in the renewed fighting. This as separatists in the eastern part of the country continue to stage an evacuation of civilians, claiming without evidence that it's the Ukrainians who are planning to attack. They also today ordered all men ages 18 to 55 to stay and fight. This as Russian state media calls what's happening in the Donbas region a, quote, genocide. Analysts worry this is all laying the groundwork to give Russian President Vladimir Putin a pretext to invade. As for the front lines today, you saw the images there. That's what civilians and soldiers in the eastern part of Ukraine are dealing with on a daily basis. They are the story, and they are pledging to stay, saying this is their country and they will fight if they have to. Back to you.
Trey, it's Raymond Arroyo. I want to get a little clarity here for the viewer, because it's hard, I think, for them to process this. These separatist regions were what Russia claimed in 2014, and basically they granted citizenship to everybody there. It seems they're trying to provoke a war here and provoke Ukraine to attack those regions. Is that what you're seeing on the ground? And what might the U.S. involvement have to be if NATO gets involved?
Absolutely. That's the case. Since 2019, 720,000 fast-track Russian passports have been given to people in this region, in these cities like Donetsk and Luhansk, in the eastern part of Ukraine. And the purpose is to basically make these people feel as if they are a part of Russia, because President Putin's broader idea is to have this area of land as part of his country. This is a man, President Putin, who in the past has called the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. As recently as last year, he wrote about how he felt Ukrainians and Russians are one and the same people. So this is not someone who is really respecting the sovereignty of Ukraine and the citizens here.
Well, Trey, this is Nicole Saphier. I watched you this morning live with my children on Fox and Friends, and I can tell you as a mother, as a civilian, it was terrifying. Can you please tell us what it is like from your perspective and those around you when you are hearing the explosions happening, you're coming under attack? What is it going to take? How much destruction, how much harm needs to happen before you think President Biden is actually going to step up?
Look, what you saw today was really just a fraction of what could envelop here over the next several days. I mean, the reports and the Western intelligence indicates Russia is planning a major attack against this country, not just shelling of a border area like we were at today, but actually in the city, the capital of Kiev, where we are standing right now. The West believes ballistic missiles could be fired at this city. that a number of ground troops could work their way to surround the Ukrainian capital. So the eastern part of the country is used to this fighting. They have seen it since 2014, the past 8 years. But the capital, not so much. And the unfortunate part is that the people behind me in the streets right now are not really as prepared as they need to be. The government here has sort of been downplaying the risk of a Russian invasion. And if one does happen, there is going to be a mass evacuation of civilians. And that is why we're seeing neighboring countries like Poland preparing for upwards of 5 million Ukrainian refugees.
Hey, Trey, Tyrus here. First of all, how are you holding up? How has it been for you?
Look, I mean, we cover these stories all around the world when it comes to conflict, Afghanistan, Gaza, Lebanon, Iraq, and I find a lot of similarities in the stories that we cover. It's about the people and the humans who are trapped here. You know, we can go to the front line today, for example, and show our viewers what's happening there to the soldiers and civilians who have to fight every day to survive. And then we can come back to the capital of Kiev, where right now it is quite calm and the air is a little bit cold, but that's about the only problem that most people in the streets here have right now. And the juxtaposition is quite jarring, but we're doing just fine and we're used to covering these stories.
Just to follow up real quick, without a strong presence from NATO or the United States, how long could Ukraine hold off if Russia has a full-scale invasion?
Well, look, right now, NATO allies don't appear open to supporting Ukraine within its own borders. It's one thing to send weapons here, these anti-aircraft missiles and anti-tank missiles. It's another thing to actually have troops on the ground. And that's the conversation and the argument right now that it's going back and forth, and likely was a conversation today in Munich when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was there speaking with people like the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. And the reality is this is a David and Goliath situation. Fighting the Russian government and military is an uphill battle for the Ukrainians.
Trey Yingst, thank you so much for that. And please, my friends, stay safe.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.